There is a small village in Russia that many people outside the Orthodox world have never heard of. It is not a capital, it is not a royal palace, it is not a lost city, and yet, for millions of believers, this quiet place is one of the most mysterious spiritual destinations in Russia. Its name is Diveyevo. At first, Diveyevo looks peaceful. White monastery walls, golden domes, flower gardens, forests, church bells, pilgrims walking slowly in silence. But behind this calm beauty is a story filled with prophecy, suffering, disappearance, miracles, and one strange sacred path that people still walk today. A path known as the Holy Kanavka. Some people call Diveyevo a monastery, some call it a place of miracles, and some believe it is one of the earthly places especially protected by the Mother of God. But how did a small Russian village become surrounded by so many legends? And why do pilgrims still travel there, sometimes from thousands of miles away, just to walk around a simple path in the ground? This is the mystery of Diveyevo. The story of Diveyevo is deeply connected with one of the most beloved saints in Russian Orthodoxy, Saint Seraphim of Sarov. He was a monk, a hermit, and a spiritual guide. He spent years in silence, prayer, and solitude. People came to him for advice, comfort, healing, and hope. But one of the most mysterious parts of his legacy was not in Sarov. It was in Diveyevo. According to Orthodox tradition, Saint Seraphim had a special spiritual connection with the women's monastery there. He believed that Diveyevo was not simply founded by human hands. It had a hidden destiny. Diveyevo is often called the fourth lot of the Mother of God, a place believed to be under her special protection. And Saint Seraphim is said to have cared for the Diveyevo sisters as if they were his own spiritual children. He warned them, he guided them, he blessed them. And according to tradition, he spoke about the future of this place long before anyone could understand what it would become. A small village, a women's monastery, a sacred path, and a mystery that would survive even after everything seemed destroyed. At the heart of Diveyevo's mystery is the Holy Kanavka. In Russian, Kanavka means a small ditch or canal. That sounds simple, almost too simple. But in Diveyevo, this path is not treated like an ordinary piece of land. It is treated as sacred. According to monastery tradition, Saint Seraphim instructed the sisters to dig the Kanavka around the community. It was meant to mark a holy boundary, a protected space. But over time, it became much more than that. Pilgrims believe that the Mother of God herself walks along this path every day. That is the legend. And because of that, people come to Diveyevo not just to look at the churches or take pictures. They come to walk, slowly, prayerfully, quietly. Some walk the Kanavka at sunrise, some walk it at sunset, some walk it at night. They carry pain, grief, illness, questions, and sometimes desperate hope. Many say the same thing, that something feels different there. The air, the silence, the feeling of being protected. Of course, this cannot be proven like a historical document, but that is the nature of sacred places. Their power is not always in what can be measured. Sometimes it is in what people continue to believe generation after generation. By the early 20th century, Diveyevo had become a large and famous women's monastery. There were hundreds of nuns and novices. Pilgrims came from across Russia. The monastery had churches, gardens, workshops, and a daily rhythm centered around prayer. It was no longer just a village. It had become a spiritual world. But then came the Russian Revolution, and everything changed. The Soviet state was hostile to religious life. Monasteries were closed, churches were seized, clergy and monastics were arrested, exiled, or forced into hiding. Diveyevo was not spared. In the 1920s, the monastery was closed, the sisters were scattered, the buildings were taken over, the holy place went silent. Imagine it. A monastery once filled with bells, candles, singing, footsteps, and prayer, suddenly emptied. The Kanavka, once walked by pilgrims, became neglected. The churches lost their life. The sisters disappeared into villages, apartments, exile, and memory. To the outside world, Diveyevo looked finished, destroyed, erased. But this is where the story becomes even more mysterious. Because the monastery did not truly die. Its buildings were taken. Its community was broken, but its memory survived. Some of the former sisters continued to pray in secret. Some preserved icons. Some passed down the stories of Saint Seraphim and the Holy Kanavka quietly, from person to person. For decades, Diveyevo existed almost like a hidden flame, small, fragile, but still burning. Then, near the end of the Soviet period, something remarkable happened. Religious life began to return. Churches were reopened, the monastery was restored, the sisters came back, pilgrims returned, and in 1991, one of the most emotional moments in Diveyevo's modern history took place. The relics of Saint Seraphim of Sarov were brought to Diveyevo. For believers, this was not just a historical event, it was a return. The saint who had spiritually cared for Diveyevo was coming back to the place connected with his blessing, his prophecy, and his prayers. After decades of silence, bells rang again. Candles burned again. The Kanavka was restored. Pilgrims began to walk the sacred path once more. This is one of the reasons Diveyevo feels so mysterious, because its story follows a pattern that appears again and again in sacred legends. A holy place is founded, then it is attacked. Then it disappears. Then, against all odds, it returns, almost as if the place was waiting for the right time to be remembered again. Today, many people come to Diveyevo not only to see the monastery, but to ask for help. They come with prayers that are deeply personal, for healing, for family, for marriage, for children, for peace, for guidance, for a miracle they cannot explain to anyone else. In Russian Orthodox tradition, many believers turn to Saint Seraphim of Sarov as a powerful intercessor. People pray to him with their wishes, their troubles, and their hopes. Some believe that Saint Seraphim helps fulfill sincere wishes, not like magic and not like a fairy tale, but through prayer, faith, and unexpected changes in life. A door opens, a burden becomes lighter, a person finds strength, a long-awaited answer appears. For some, it is healing. For others, it is comfort. For others, it is simply the feeling that they are no longer alone. That is why Diveyevo is more than a historical place. It is a place where people bring invisible things, their fears, their losses, their dreams, their secret prayers. They light candles, they stand before the icon of Saint Seraphim. They walk the Kanavka, they whisper the things they cannot say out loud, and many leave with the feeling that something heard them. Maybe that is the deepest mystery of Diveyevo, not that every wish is fulfilled exactly as people imagine, but that people come there carrying pain and leave with hope. Today, Diveyevo is one of the most important Orthodox pilgrimage destinations in Russia. But the mystery remains. Why this village? Why this path? Why did the memory of Diveyevo survive when so many other places were forgotten? And why do so many people describe the Holy Kanavka not simply as a religious site, but as a place with a presence? A place where silence feels alive. For outsiders, Diveyevo may look like a beautiful monastery, but for pilgrims, it is something deeper. It is a place where history and legend overlap, where suffering and hope stand side by side, where a simple path in the earth became one of the most mysterious sacred routes in Russia. And maybe that is the real secret of Diveyevo. Not that something dramatic happens there every day, but that people come there carrying invisible burdens and leave believing they were not alone. There are places that become famous because of kings, wars, money, or architecture. Diveyevo became famous because of prayer, because of women who kept faith alive when the monastery was closed, because of a saint whose words were remembered long after his death, because of a sacred path that people still walk even when they cannot fully explain why. The Holy Kanavka is not grand, it is not enormous, it is not built of marble or gold, it is simply a path. But sometimes the most mysterious places in the world are not the ones that shout, they are the ones that whisper, and Diveyevo still whispers. To pilgrims, to believers, to anyone who wonders whether a place can remember prayer. This was the story of Diveyevo, Russia's mysterious holy village, the sacred path of Saint Seraphim, and the monastery that refused to disappear. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe to my channel for more quiet documentaries about mysterious places, forgotten history, and sacred legends. Good night, and thank you for watching.